So the local elections, how are they shaping up? Well, it looks like the state of the parties is that the Tories are facing a bloodbath as expected, but Labour are essentially picking up modest gains and actually losing the vote share outside of London. Now, there are certain seats like Wandsworth, which is a fantastic win for the Labour Party, but I'm going to argue that Labour have not learned the lessons of the 2019 general election. The hypocritical thing we're seeing on the media from those on the Labour right is that the reasons why the election results aren't as good as 2018 is because the 2018 election results were a high watermark, as they say. Well, you do realise that Jeremy Corbyn was leading the Labour Party in 2018, but look, we'll forget about that. We know that a lot of the centrists in the Labour right, such as being hypocritical and expectation management. Let's look at this deeper. So the 2019 general election was a catastrophic defeat for the Labour Party. Terrible defeat. No one's hiding that fact. But why did it lose so badly? What are the lessons to take from this election? Well, of course, Brexit was, if not the biggest issue, and that's what the left has been saying, is what I've been saying probably since the day the results were announced. Labour lost the North, the Northern Heartlands, the so-called Red Wall seats. I don't know about you, but was it a good idea to have a Knight of the Realm, who is a London-centric MP from a professional background, a lawyer, also former DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, a man who wanted a second referendum with Remain on the ballot, a man who said, or once said, that Labour Party is the party for Remain. Is that the sort of person who should be leading the Labour Party when it lost so many seats in the North? Now, Keir Starmer can say that the case is closed surrounding Brexit until he's red, or rather blue in the face, but a man who is, well, seen as a representation of the metropolitan elite. Well, are people going to believe him? No, they're going to see him as a slippery, lying politician, which is exactly what he is. Let's go back to 2017. Now, I know that those of us on the left like to talk about 2017 because it was historic and because it was significant. But why do the Labour right, the centrists, the Labour centrists, shall I say, the radical centrists, don't want to talk about 2017? Well, in order to look at 2019, in order to look at the state of the Labour Party today, we have to look at all elections in the last couple of years. We have to look at 2017 as well as 2019. Now, how did Jeremy Corbyn get 40% of the vote in 2017 to get a hung parliament, to deprave Theresa May of her majority, to only then lose terrible defeat in 2019? Now, how did that happen? If Jeremy Corbyn was so deeply unpopular, then how did he achieve that in 17? Well, of course, like I said before, Brexit. Brexit was the main issue. Now, I want to go deeper than that. I want to look at the broader picture, because in 2017, with really a historic increase in vote share since Blair, what did Corbyn do? What did he say to those living in big metropolitan areas, places like London? And what did he also say to those in the so-called left behind areas, other people like, say, white working class? But what did he say? How did he bring them together? He brought them together because he talked about one key thing: class. He talked about people's material conditions. This economic message, this popular economic message for the many, not the few, brought the people all across the country together. He didn't capitulate to the right either. He didn't capitulate to the racists or the bigotry, which blue Labour or the Labour right have said that's how Labour need to win, needs to stop being so woke. It needs to appeal to conservative-leaning voters or the socially conservative. No, but Jeremy Corbyn didn't do that. He's actually one of the most, if not the most progressive Labour Party leader the party has ever seen. So how did he do so well? Because he said, you have more in common with a fellow working class Muslim than your white boss. He spoke about the material conditions, and he also kept the social progressivism. He tried to continue this in 2019, but it got outshadowed by Brexit. Now, even though Brexit is largely economical, it got overshadowed by a culture war, and it became a vote on identity. So when Labour flunked their Brexit policy, well, the economic message of bringing Whether you voted Leave or Remain, whether you're in a big city or in a small town, he brought them together. That crumbled in 2019. So looking at these lessons, knowing this, why are the Labour Party, doing so poorly? Because every electoral test under Keir Starmer has been a failure. And these election results, no matter how they spin it, is also a failure. Winning certain seats in London from the Tories, even if they've never won it before, it's historic. But you're not going to win a majority or even a minority government if you don't win back the Leave seats. There's also this huge myth that the Northerners are bigoted racists, and that if you were just to shift your social policy towards conservatism, then you're going to pick up those votes. Not only is that patronising, but it's also incorrect. Now, Keir Starmer is obviously trying to do that with his more socially conservative policies, his clamping down and tough on crime, criticising the Lib Dems for having a fairly progressive policy on drugs, clamping down on drug abusers, tougher sentences for protesters. Yeah, all right, but who are you going to convince here? You might get a couple of Tory voters, but at the same time, you're going to piss off your base. What is your strategy here, Keir Starmer? Nobody knows the magic bullet to get the Labour Party back into power, and anything can happen from here on out. But with the current state of the Labour Party, a general election win doesn't seem likely.